This video is not for persons under the age of 13. By watching this video, you are declaring that you are above 13 years of age. Hello and welcome to today's artwork. What it will be is an acrylic black and white painting on some canvas paper, just basically using these fairly cheap colours, well, not colours, the black and white. So as you can see up at the top here, the reference image is a tonal image. It's not exactly black and white, it's almost a sepia, but we can use that to create a black and white. It's a young lady who's out walking and she's got one of those parasols, and it's got a little bit of a vintage feel to it, but it's a nice thing to have a practice with. I don't often do acrylics, so sometimes you have to do a bit of practicing. So let's crack on with it. To start, I'll mix up some very light background colours. Obviously I'm going to take some of the white and the teeniest little bit of black, and that might be too much. Let's see if I can dull that down a bit. Yeah, that'll do. And all I'm doing is taking the edge off the white. Now let's water that down considerably. So I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to paint all over that. I'm going to just do that black. So what the areas that I want to really be interested in, these areas down at the bottom where the branches are that go to the right down to the grass. Trying to avoid going on that area. So it's a nice base tone, that. And again, I'm not going to be overdoing it with amount of paint to put on that, because it's all light, this area, as you can see from the reference image. I'm just like trying to get it to be a bit more deeper and darker in colour in this area without going over the top with it. Actually, this is one of the few areas that I will go over because it helps in the long run with that. So we've got that like that. And later on we'll do some more filling in with colour, or not colour. I've got to stop saying that, it's not colour. With either white or black. It's a grayscale painting, this. And just maybe randomly round here get a few bits in just to use the paint up. Same again at this side. Now at this end we can see if we can get that a bit darker. And the trick of this one is to try and keep it fairly random. Don't just be it although it looks fairly flat as a colour, it's made up of lots of areas of varying different strengths. Get some of that in. Just being really careful what I'm doing here. And just kind of joining that up to some degree. But we'll come back to this a little bit later on. We're just really trying to get this all blocked in if we possibly can. Get a bit more in there, and I think that apart from there we go. So as far as that goes, see if I can put that there. That's your, this is your rough image. And I'm not going branch by branch and making exact copies of the reference. I've got it drawn down as much as I want it to be similar to it, and that's as far as I'll take it, because you can go really over the top when it comes to absolutely mimicking the reference that you've got. So I try my absolute best to avoid that if I possibly can. In fact, I'm not looking that much now at the reference. There will be occasions where I might want to have a look at some of the tonal values in here, but apart from that, I really am not looking that much at the reference image, because it can make you bog down in detail that isn't necessary at this moment in time. We just need to get a rough impression of where things are at the moment. There. And again, we're going to reinforce this shadow here. I don't want to do this too heavily. I'm just going to like softly brush the edges like that, and then bring it down. softly brush edge. Same here at this side. So we've got like a bit of a feathering out. And on the inside we can go a little bit harder. And bring that down. There you go. So I'm going to let this settle for a while, and we'll start thinking about getting some base colours. Said it again, Anta. Some base values into the person. Now we're going to concentrate on the dress and the person itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is blocking this dress, and it has two tones in this, a very light tone and a slightly darker one that's not quite as dark as this area. So we've got to mix something up that's going to be appropriate for that. So first of all we're going to have to create a white and a lightish white. But still have enough punch in it to be able to differentiate it from this. Obviously later on we're going to make this a lot darker, so we don't have to be too picky about this. Let's see if this is a nice enough. Maybe a teeny bit more black. Because you can always put the highlights back in later anyway if you want it to make it much darker than what it is, or lighter. I may even just leave it white. I mean, as a watercolourist I've got the habit of leaving certain areas that are very strongly lit fairly light. So we can introduce teeny bits of highlight in there. And I have noticed there that is actually quite white, so I would assume that there's a lot of strong light coming from this area here. Trying to follow these lines that I've already established in the drawing, because they are like the pleats, natural pleats, not ones that are obviously made into the dress, but it's just the way that the dress is folding, and I want to make sure that you get that. It's never easy to do. I'm not going for absolute realism here, but I'm striving to try and get something that's believable. We at least need to try as best to get somewhere close to it being believable, or what's the point in doing it anyway? Get some water in with this, because it sometimes on this canvas paper it can just run dry straight away. Obviously I'm not an acrylic artist by any means. This is me having a go, but it's interesting. It's not something I'll be doing on a regular basis, but for a Saturday afternoon and in lockdown, you have a go at these things. Right, now we've got that grey on it, I wanna, if you look at the reference, there's a very clear and obvious white area there. And again, in a similar vein, we've got that there. Just getting, covering this area that I left white with some white, although that now does look a little bit over the top. So once I've done this here, I'm going to see if I can knock it back a bit. There you go. I do find neat paint, especially acrylic like this, to be a bit too overbearing. So you have to sometimes knock it back a bit. And I am trying to look for areas in this dress that flow within the tonal values, so it all connects. It's all one piece of material, so we need to give it some kind of feel that that's the case. So you do that by, you know, joining areas up and blending bits. And now I'm going down to the minute detail on this. It's time to put this brush away and get a much smaller brush. Right, so we could probably use these two here. So if I can, always thinking carefully about the tonal value that I'm putting in. I'm not going to go too over the top with this. I'm not that far off completion with that, because you can really overdo it if you're not careful. And one or two stronger points here where it's pleating into the hip. And a bit there that actually then helps you blend into the shadow. And bring that out a bit more there. And we'll take that up a bit. And that for me is that bit of the dress done for now. We might come back to it. Now, obviously, if you look in the reference image, she's got a white shirt on. So, first of all, let's get some slightly off white and see if we can model that, because we don't want to be just putting white directly over the white of the canvas. It's just pointless as far as I'm concerned, that. So let's look for the areas where there's ever so slight shading. And we're looking for shape and form of the body as well. We'll try and think about it from this is a body that's being draped with material. So getting some forming and things like that is a good thing to practice. And again, this material that the top is made of has a very flowy kind of feel to it. Not as much as the dress, but it still has that natural flow of material. And as you can see from the reference image, the left hand side of this arm here is pretty much shaded. Now that tells me that light is coming from that angle, so we're going to make sure that that's well represented. What I put on there is a tiny bit strong, but it don't matter, because what we're going to do is we're going to, you can always like blend it out a bit and take the edge off that colour. I want that to be fairly dark there, and and that's about the only really hard dark area in the shirt. I just want to indicate on this arm the same issue that we had with the other arm, the fact that it's, you know, light's coming from this angle, therefore anything on the right hand side is going to be lighter than anything on the other side, on the left. So we're going to bring that down a bit. Need to get some water on this paint. And to be honest with you, I think, again, I'm looking at the flow of the actual shirt itself, and I'm thinking, well, that's about done. One other thing that we've got to do with regard to clothing before we move on to any of the body parts is the hat. And again, I'm going to get some of that off-white and use that as a base, and that gives me an opportunity to either leave certain areas very white or add some accent of white, like for example there. And obviously on the peak of the hat. In saying that, I mean, I'm surprised that that's not all in absolute shade because of the parasol that she's holding. So just to give that three-dimensional feel, this side of the hat will be considerably darker, not massively, but enough that you'd recognise it as being a lot darker. Let's see if I can blend that in towards where the white is. Around there, and then encourage a tiny bit more darker on the very extreme bits. Well, I want to do the sombrero, and then we'll move on to the fleshy parts. Sombrero. I want to do the parasol. And basically, because it's almost translucent there, so it's kind of glowing from the light that's hitting it. I'm just going to let it like the top of that I'm going to have very, very white. I'm going to let that dry for a bit and we'll come back to it. Right, let's continue on. We were doing the parasol, and I just want to reintroduce some lighter areas. I'm just going to not trying to copy it exactly how it is. I'm just going to reintroduce areas like that. And I get some of that off white again. And do this side, the top of it. And as I get more to the side where light's hitting it the most, I'm going to blend that in, and there we go. See if we can blend that a bit better. So that's that mostly complete. Emphasize that. Obviously I'm not going to be too picky about that, because we've got a lot of background work to replace later on. So a few more bits of detailing to do. I've got the hand to do. I'm not going to be massively fussy about the detailing on the hand. It's not absolutely critical. Get a bit of a side of a hand there. It's not that dark, so what I will do is nip it back. That links round to there. See if I can get some white on that, because it's way too dark. I don't want that area there to blend into that, because it's all basically shade. And similarly for this, I do want this to show a reasonable amount, because it shows her holding a part of a dress which I'm going to connect to like that. Use the dark that's like that and just like connect, and that goes round like that, right down to there. Now whether I want it to be that strong, I don't in all areas, but that area there is reasonably dark. But you've got to be balanced with that, because it will look silly if you do make it too strong. So I'm going to nip it back a bit. There you go. So you've got that line that you can see that goes down like that. You've got this idea that she's holding a dress up a little bit. Why she's doing that, I do not know. But we move on. And very abstractly, I'm just going to give you this idea that there's some mechanism that's holding this. I keep wanting to call it an umbrella, but it isn't. It's a parasol. A little bit of an highlight there, and right, we're at the point where we can start thinking about doing the face. So again, it's the face is actually darker than, well, it's a white shirt, that, so it's going to be a bit darker, but because she's wearing a hat, that's going to make it even more darker unnaturally darker, but we can get away with that because she's wearing a hat. So this might look a bit dark, but especially around that area. It's just a combination of various grey tones now, although like I say it's going to be a lot darker than it is light because of the hat she's wearing and the parasol that's creating a certain amount of shade. I just want to do some while I'm in this area, I get some of this background and work negatively around the face, then it saves me having to be delicate in this area when we come round to finishing off the painting. Let's see if I can get that nice and sharp. Right, nearly done with the only bit I do need to, I want a little bit of white and a lot of the only real dark area I'm going to be putting on the face is that there, and that represents what you can see of her hair. I'm going to bring a line down there and a line there on the shirt. See if I can soften that out a bit. Apart from the dark area in the tree, there is very little dark value in this painting at all. So as far as I'm concerned, that pretty much done. So what I need to do now is start working back on the background, and I'm going to be fairly direct and strokey like that. So And what I do want to do is I want to leave in this background, I want to leave at least some of what we've done in the background previously in the image, so it's just not one block of tone. But we still do want to chisel out the shapes that we've got. Right. Almost there. Just got this side to do really. Try and be kind of random. Obviously tighten up a little bit when you get near to any objects that cut into that background area. I'm going to let that kind of go into there, and just look how brush strokey I am. I'm really not going for exact accuracy, but that will help in the sense of the tree looking a lot more realistic. Just want to re-emphasize a little bit the just got that branch to do there. A bit more there. Just going round areas that could do with just a bit more emphasis. Again, a little bit of an overall group of valuing in shaded areas, just to make sure that you fully know that this area, that certain parts of it are going to be universally shaded, and that ties everything in. And basically for a you know, a practice kind of thing. I think that's about as much as I really want to do. Bit too much that. One or two more highlights. A little bit more highlighting at this side, just to balance it up a bit. And just want to darken that area, and I think once I've done that, I think I'm going to leave it alone, because you can go at it all day and all it does is just becomes muddier and muddier and muddier and less defined, and we don't want that. Just do the bit between the arms there, and there is a little bit there of the tree, so it helps define that area a bit better. But as far as I'm concerned, that's this practice image basically done. I mean, you could go on and do lots of detailing, such as the various little bits of detailing on the hat, and you could sharpen up all these areas, and you could do lots of things with it. But as it's just a practice painting and a demonstration for you guys, I think I'll leave it at that level and call that a finished painting, although it isn't in real terms. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Not very often that I do acrylics. It's an acrylic on canvas paper, so it's not quite using the watercolour techniques I would use with acrylics. This is more acrylic painting, and I'm thankful that you've been here till the end, and we'll see you in another video coming shortly. So bye for now, and please subscribe and click the like button. Thank you.